Hello and welcome to our millions of viewers here in Nigeria, the continent, and all around the world. Here's what is coming up on the program. UK, French and German foreign ministers hold talks with their Iranian counterparts as Trump sets two-week window. Iran warns that US joining Israeli strikes would cause hell for the Middle East region. Plus, on the program, at least 23 Palestinians have been killed after Israeli military opens fire on crowds who gathered near an aid distribution site. The World Today starts right now. We are live from our global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Kelly Egiga with Channel CV's continuing coverage of the Israel-Iran conflict. Let's get things started in Geneva, where UK, French and German foreign ministers are holding talks with their Iranian counterparts as part of efforts to ease the conflict. And just before the meeting, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy told newsmen a window now exists within the next 2 weeks to achieve a diplomatic solution. This comes after the White House says President Donald Trump will decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will join Israeli strikes on Iran. The exchange of fire between Israel and Iran has continued, with the Israeli military saying it attacked dozens of targets, including what it called missile manufacturing sites in Tehran. We understand emergency services in southern Israel claimed 7 people have been injured in Beersheba after an Iranian missile struck a technology park. Israel and Iran continue to exchange missile attacks for the 8th day as hundreds of thousands of protests against Israel on the streets of Tehran are also ongoing at the moment. We also hear that at least 17 people, including 3 in serious conditions, have been wounded in Israel after Iran's latest missile salvo, with explosions reported in several locations. Meanwhile, Iran has yet to release casualty figures since Sunday. Still in the Middle East, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Said Khatibzadeh is warning that the U.S. joining Israeli strikes would cause hell for the Middle East region. Mr. Khatibzadeh says it is not America's war, and if President Donald Trump does get involved, he will always be remembered as a president who entered a war he doesn't belong in. He adds that U.S. involvement would turn the conflict into a quagmire, continue aggression, and delay an end to the brutal atrocities. His comments come after the Suraka hospital in southern Israel was hit during an Iranian missile attack. However, Iranian state media reports that the strike targeted a military site next to the hospital and not the facility itself. Let's stay with developments around our stories, as Russia has also issued a stern warning to Washington, cautioning against any military intervention in the escalating tensions between Israel and Iran. Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson Maria Sararova describes such move as an extremely dangerous step with truly unpredictable negative consequences. She's also emphasizing Moscow's concern over the safety of Russian personnel and infrastructure at Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant, which was built with Russian support. The facility, located in southern Iran, is currently being expanded with over 200 Russian workers involved in constructing 2 additional reactors. Meanwhile, Russian nuclear agency Rosatom has evacuated dozens of workers from the site. Its chief, Alexei Lishakov, warns that an Israeli strike on the region could lead to a nuclear catastrophe akin to the 1986 disaster. Staying with warnings, this time China has also warned that the situation in the Middle East is at risk of spiraling out of control, following reports that former U.S. President Donald Trump approved a plan for military strikes on Iran. At a regular press briefing in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Jui Jiankun says China opposes any act that violates the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations and infringes on the sovereignty, security and territorial integrity of other countries. Mr. Zhu adds that the international community, especially influential powers, should uphold a fair position and a responsible attitude creates conditions for a ceasefire and a return to dialogue and negotiation, as well as avoid the situation in the region sliding into an absence that could lead to a greater disaster. Addressing the ongoing situation, which has escalated over the past week, Mr. Ju says it was causing great harm to the peoples of the two countries and seriously undermining peace and stability in the region and the world. However, calling on both sides, particularly Israel, to halt hostilities and prioritize the safety and welfare of civilians. According to the foreign minister, China is intensifying its diplomatic efforts following Israel's strike on Iran. He says in a phone call with Russian President Mr. Vladimir Putin, President Xi Jinping outlined a 4-point peace proposal as both leaders condemned the attack and called for calm in the region. Now, the White House has pushed back against claims that Iran may abandon the nuclear non-proliferation treaty if European Union nations assist with strikes. Addressing journalists during a press briefing in Washington, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt calls such warnings a reckless rhetoric, noting that there was no indication that China had entered diplomatic negotiations, despite reports that President Xi Jinping had offered to get involved.
I am not tracking that on Mr. Witkoff's travel schedule, but I can certainly check in with him to be sure. As for correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, I can confirm that correspondence has continued. As you know, we were engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways. The entire world is on the president's side when it comes to the fact that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something that pretty much all of humanity, except for the Iranian terrorist regime themselves, agree upon. And so the president expects that Europe will deliver that message directly to the Iranians. I don't believe we're seeing any signs of that at this moment in time. As for Xi Jinping's offer, I will leave it to the president to respond to that himself. That's reckless rhetoric, but I understand the Europeans are meeting with the Iranians tomorrow, so we'll see how that meeting goes.
Just one more on.
In another development, leader of La France Insoumise, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, is urging the international community to question Israel and the U.S. narrative alleging that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon in Paris. He compares the current situation with claims made by the U.S. about alleged WMDs in Iraq to justify the 2003 invasion, condemning Israel's military actions against Iran, and called Israeli Prime Minister Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu the true aggressor in the region. He warns that the demanding unconditional surrender from Iran would only increase instability and risk a broader conflict. Let's get some more stories now. Tensions escalate between Israel and Iran. The first group of 119 Chinese citizens have evacuated from Israel to Egypt through the Taba border crossing in Egypt's South Sinai province. Counselor at the Chinese embassy in Egypt, Zhao Yang, says the evacuees will be transferred to Cairo. The evacuation comes due to escalating conflict in the region after Israel launched airstrikes on Iran last Friday under Operation Rising Lion, reportedly killing senior Iranian military officials. In retaliation, Iran responded with Operation True Promise 3, targeting Israeli sites, including Tel Aviv. An Israel Defense Forces spokesperson, you see him on your screen, Brigadier General Fi Defrin, has claimed that Iran had intended to launch a more extensive attack on the region. However, Israeli forces had preemptively destroyed 3 ready-to-fire launchers. According to General Defrin, over 50 Israeli Air Force fighter jets carried out coordinated attacks over Tehran and other parts of Iran overnight, claiming they had targeted Sepanat building, the nuclear program headquarters in Tehran. Meanwhile, Israeli forces also launched a new wave of attacks in western Iran, targeting launch and storage facilities. The conflict, now in its 8th day, has seen waves of strikes and counterstrikes on both sides. Let's bring in consultant researcher Osarome Izebokun. He joins us live now from Berlin to unpack all of these latest development plus the strike we hear Israel has just carried out in Iran just a few moments ago. Osarome, thank you indeed for agreeing to talk to us here on Channel TV. And I want us to begin from Geneva, where that high-profile meeting is ongoing between Iranian Foreign Minister Mr. Abbas Araghchi with UK and EU leaders. Mr. Abbas, we understand, says he's not in Geneva to negotiate. Then the big question perhaps is, why then is he in Geneva?
Well, the fundamental truth about this whole issue is that, you see, intrigues are coming into play. And concerning the Iranian position, the Iranians have been seen to have been stalling over a while, over a good number of years on this nuclear inspection and so we would not, I don't see it as something that is taking me unawares. So basically what they are doing is stalling. This is the way I can personally interpret the situation. And looking at it from the perspective of the global north, you are seeing a group of people coming together, a group of nations coming together to ensure that we do not have a reoccurrence of nuclear proliferation. That you see Iran coming to bear and saying, no, we are trying to protect our statehood, and this is the best way that we can do it. If America has got it, why can't we? If Israel has got it, why can't we have it? So basically, whatever Abbas is doing, he's playing according to the original playbook, and I think he's doing it well. He's going to Geneva, and he's going there just to sit and watch the others talk. You see, I can't imagine, or I can't even come to terms, with that level of reasonability.
Because, I mean, I was just going to ask you, I wonder what kind of realistic outcomes can we expect from this diplomatic engagement, especially at this time. Some believe that this could perhaps possibly pave the way for a ceasefire, or you think both sides are too entangled for a meaningful compromise here?
Well, basically speaking, and well, I'm not going to be analytic about it now. I'm going to look at it from the layman's perspective. From the layman's perspective, we have been at this for years. We've been at this for years. We've been using the diplomatic windows, that have been available to the world. We've been using the diplomatic windows that have been available to international actors, through the years, and yet we've not been able to arrive at a consensus, at a solution. Then that makes me think that at this point, when exchange of missiles have taken place, we may not have the envisaged result that we are hoping for, that we think we should get, that, the expected end of international diplomacy. I think we have passed that point. I think it's just going to go on and on and on until one side is able to prove that, yes, I have the upper hand, I have won. And like Donald Trump said the other day, you just have to surrender. Surrender, nothing more. Surrender, uncompromisingly surrender.
Because you've brought Mr. Donald Trump, U.S. President, into the mix, I'd like to take you up on that, because he says he's going to reveal in the next 2 weeks whether or not the U.S. will be involved in this war. Iran has pushed back. They have issued a stark and stern warning, perhaps, if you like, that if the U.S. gets involved, it would bring hell to the Middle East region. What do you fear the most could happen if the U.S. indeed eventually gets involved?
Well, looking at the person of Donald Trump, I've had the opportunity of speaking on this same platform, Channels Television, some time ago, and I made you understand that the man is a strategist, he is a negotiator. is one individual that looks at the wider picture. He's not looking at the intent to destroy human life. He has clearly stated that. And I think him saying that in 2 weeks' time, I think he's just trying to give Iran a very, very long rope. He's trying to do something that many people would not have expected him to be doing. And that, of course, is where I would ask Iran to quickly use this window, and to exercise their diplomatic wings, or whatever you want to call it, and bring peace to their nation. Because I can't just imagine the United States coming into this war. It's going to be total chaos. It is going to be staccatorical. It's going to be dangerous, and I don't want to imagine it. I don't want to imagine it.
Osarome, well, just a moment, because earlier we had to mention to our viewers that there have been some very serious warnings from Russia, who, of course, is an ally of Iran. President Vladimir Putin, of course, we understand that relationship has also been really very essential in the past few years. China as well, President Xi Jinping has also been involved as an ally, perhaps, of Iran and the region. So if these two nations and many more, perhaps more Arab nations, get some sort of backing, don't you think Iran stands a chance?
Well, I would simply say that China has not actually threatened. I have said all through the different reports that that are before us and all that, and I have discovered that it wasn't a threat. It was basically an observation. They only made an observation to the United States, calling all parties, to the table and referring them to international laws, the international laws, protecting sovereignty. And then when you're talking about international laws protecting sovereignty, you did not make mention of the fact that Russia and China, the both of them, with one voice, had made the statement. They had made the statement about protecting the international law and all that. And we have Russia invading Ukraine, almost in almost the same manner, invading Ukraine, and the issue of sovereignty. It's like, I can invade this country, but that country cannot invade that country. So, and then you have China that hasn't said anything. They haven't said anything opposing, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. They have not said anything. And then you have them talking about Israel invading Iran. Of a double standard.
Well, sorry, so much for us to unpack. You have brought in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and we will talk about that in just a moment. But we're learning as well a few hours ago about the latest strike on Tehran. And that's a country of about 90 million against an Israel of about 10 million. I understand in Tehran alone we have about 10 million residents in Tehran. So Iran has more military tanks on the ground. Israel has perhaps the aerial advantage with more fighter jets and all of that. How could all of this play out in the coming days? The ground advantage versus the air advantage?
Well, basically speaking, I would say that it's not about the population anymore. International warfare is not about population of your country. International warfare is about the technology and the science backing the technology. Note what I said, the technology and the science backing your technology. So we have Israel that's got an ideological position backing their technology. So their technology is founded on certain realities, and that is why they would use they would name their defense systems names like Goliath Sling and all that. So you see, we are looking at a group of people that got technology, and not just having technology by themselves, they also have technology for themselves. Talking about the United States coming to their rescue. You know, the United States is fully backing them. And forget about what is happening about the negotiations, Iran going to Europe to initiate and negotiations and all that. That is all, I would not want to call it a diplomatic gimmick, but that is all an effort in futility, because Europe would always back the United States when it comes to the real thing. So we are looking at the nation of Israel almost, I think, 1/50 the size of Iran. Well, I think, yeah, about 1/50 or more on the size of Iran, having to face Iran as a nation. And note that they have actually conquered the airspace of Iran. Israel is in charge of the airspace of Iran. So these are proven evidence that shows the technological superiority of the Israeli state over the Iranians.
Mm. Sorry, many questions indeed to unpack for you here. But with multiple active conflicts all around the world, there's Russia's invasion of Ukraine, India and Pakistan, Israel and Gaza, Israel and Hamas, if you say, some say Israel, and then Israel and Iran. Now, are we witnessing some sort of isolated regional disputes, or are these signs of a broader global shift towards widespread war?
Well, if you had listened to my interview with the Channels television from last year, you would see where I actually said that we are on the verge of the Third World War. That we only need one other kind of war, one other pair of nations to engage each other in warfare, and then you can officially call it a world war. That is what is happening now. We have Pakistan and India. We have Iran and Israel. We have Ukraine and Russia. And we also have the Chinese, preparing to take what they think belongs to them. Talking about coming into the point, I can actually tell you officially that we are, we're in the Third World War. And this is why I would like to use this opportunity to talk to our government, to talk to the government of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to please do not, as a diplomatic strategy,
Sorry, we've lost your audio signals. I mean, it would have been good for you to perhaps land on your thoughts, bringing in the leadership of the current administration into all of this conversation. But it's a fine place to perhaps anchor a conversation with you. We have our eyes and our ears on ground, covering all of the crises and conflicts right there in the Middle East region. Even though President Donald Trump had promised to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine within one day of his inauguration or assumption of office, he hasn't done that. It's interesting to perhaps to see what will play out in the coming days or weeks. He has given the world 2 weeks to watch and see what will come out. So perhaps some have described him as an unpredictable president, so we'll get to see exactly what plays out in the coming days. But I'd like to thank you indeed for your analysis on the program. Consultant researcher Osarome Zebukun, live for us in Berlin, Germany. And thousands of demonstrators have marched through downtown Caracas calling for world peace and expressing their support for Iran in its ongoing conflict with Israel. The demonstrations organized by the United Socialist Party of Venezuela with the PSU's leaders and ambassadors from Iran and Palestine, Diosdado Cabello rejecting Israel and its Prime Minister, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. Jorge Rodriguez, president of the National Assembly, also addressed the crowd. He's emphasizing that Venezuela cannot look the other way or become complicit in the silence of international organizations that fail to condemn Israel's military and, quote, genocidal policies.
Porque los pueblos libres del mundo se van a ir levantando poco a poco siguiendo el ejemplo de Irán. Escuchamos la canción de Irán.
De son tourisme. Le tourisme est l'une des principales.
Elsewhere, protests have also erupted in the French capital, with one group rallying for an end to Israel's military actions in the Middle East and the other denouncing the Iranian government as tensions continue to escalate in the region. Protesters in this group criticize the EU's response to Israel's strikes on Iran, rejecting the assertion that Israel has a right to defend itself and arguing that there is no such thing as a preemptive strike. In the meantime, counter-protesters defended Israel's actions in Iran, with one suggesting that Tel Aviv is saving the Iranian population from their leadership. Another Iranian protester argues that despite the government's action, no citizen can be truly happy about Israel's attacks. Back here on the continent, the United Nations says heavy fighting in Sudan continues to escalate as a direct result of the continued flow of arms into the country, meaning that the war is far from over. In an update on the emergency in the Northeast African nation, top independent human rights investigators from the Independent International Fact-Finding Mission for the Sudan highlighted the increased use of heavy weaponry in populated areas and a sharp rise in sexual violence.
Many Sudanese are dying from hunger, and especially those who have been detained. And in detention, they are dying, and the millions affected by absolute hunger is increasing by the day.
There is a direct link between the flow of arms in Sudan, armed hostilities, and the resulting violence amounting to violations of international humanitarian law and human rights violations. Now we know the kind of arms that are being used: heavy artillery, modern warfare, drones, and in fact they have escalated.
In terms of international responsibility, we urge all states to respect and enforce the arms embargo under United Nations Security Council Resolution 1556.
Both sides are committing war crimes. We didn't say that SAF did not commit. We actually think SAF, particularly the bombardment and the shelling, does indicate war crimes as well as torture. We spoke about crimes against humanity, particularly in the context of persecution of certain ethnic groups. This continues. The attack on these humanitarian workers and human rights defenders is really crippling the delivery of aid in a lot of these communities. It has impact on starvation, it has impact on famine, it has impact on access to basic things like food, like the kitchens that they actually organize.
From Sudan to South Africa, where the third edition of the EU-African SME Summit 2025 is currently underway in Johannesburg. This year's summit is focused on scaling Africa's sustainable future, leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA and the EU's Global Gateway Strategy. The two-day event is bringing together over 300 entrepreneurs, 55 speakers, policymakers, innovators, and industry leaders from 86 countries, all exploring how SMEs and mid-sized companies can drive growth across the continent. Our correspondent in SA, Innocent Semosa, tells us more.
Organized by European entrepreneurs in collaboration with the EU-African SME Alliance, those behind the summit says it aims to promote sustainable development, unlocking new trade opportunities and strengthening business collaboration between Africa and Europe. Delegates at the gathering says small and medium enterprises across Africa must strategically position themselves to fully harness the benefits presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area.
So I think it's all about visibility. So an event like this makes sure that anyone from any place that comes to this event actually can physically meet, greet, talk to people they would otherwise have no access to whatsoever. And that's innovators, it's investors, it's funders for collaboration, which often brings finance also.
I think Africa is definitely making progress. Even in the 3 years that we've been working with Africa, we started in, I want to say, Zambia, where we worked with an insurance company in Africa to try and help them with their needs, and they were in a very different situation than they're in now.
And this is exactly the kind of shift many young people hope to see, an entrepreneurial system that works for them.
I think young people have the ability to change a lot of things if they come together. I think there's a lot of division with the youth. The youth are divided in class and status, and as well as in business sectors.
Still, others point out that young entrepreneurs and SMEs continue to face tough challenges, from access to finance to navigating complex regulatory environments.
I think generally it's a very tough time for young people in business. You know, just generally entering the job market itself is quite a challenge. You know, we're still dealing with a very high unemployment rate, and when young people decide to take it upon themselves to create businesses of their own, especially when opportunities aren't being provided for them, there's still the issue of lack of empowerment.
As conversations continue at the summit, one message is clear. Africa's young entrepreneurs are ready to lead, but they need support, partnerships, and policies that help them to thrive in a global marketplace. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
And back here in Nigeria, building an online store can be a challenge for many small business owners, but a Nigerian startup is using artificial intelligence to change that. Lexia AI is helping entrepreneurs create e-commerce websites with ease, using smart tools that generate product descriptions, images, and more. Here's a look at how the platform is simplifying digital business for the everyday Nigerian seller.
Meet Abiola Ogunjobi, co-founder and CEO of Lexia AI, a Nigerian startup using artificial intelligence to simplify how small businesses create online stores without the usual stress of product photoshoots or content creation. Their goal is to use AI to simplify digital business for the everyday Nigerian seller.
Because our target markets are MSMEs and people who already have 9-to-5 businesses are trying to sell things on the side, we want to ensure that we try as much as possible to give them the opportunity to excel in the market, right? Over the years, we've built e-commerce websites for people, for businesses, and for individuals. And we've noticed one very, very striking thing, the fact that they do not have the time or the budget to create product images or product descriptions for their products, right? We started using AI to do this for them. Lexia AI is using AI to generate product images and product descriptions, social media posts for businesses. Take, for example, you sell dresses, right? With Lexia AI, you can upload a dress on a white background onto our platform, and it will generate that dress on a model in different sizes that you have instructed the AI to generate. So it could generate it in a size 8, a size 10, a size 12, and a size 14. You don't have to have different sizes of those dresses, take multiple photographs or multiple photo shoots of those dresses, have multiple models. We do all that for you at a go.
From AI-generated product descriptions to creating multiple product images in various sizes and on digital models, the startup is removing traditional bottlenecks for sellers who want to scale fast. What started as a software development company has now evolved into an AI-powered platform designed with local relevance in mind.
8 years ago, I started out a software development firm, right? We were building websites for people, for individuals and businesses. And one thing we discovered was the fact that every time we needed to build an e-commerce website, it came with the hassles of having to generate product or having to get product images from the clients, which they always, most times, didn't have. Product images from the clients, which they didn't know or they did not have. What are the variations which they would not want to give you at the go, and they will tell you things like, oh, these things change all the time. How would you train us on how to use the website, and how would you train us on how to use the CMS and on whatnot? So over time, we started generating these product images for them using AI, right? And with AI, we'll generate product images and ask them, oh, how many sizes are of this cloth? Then we can use AI to generate it. And they loved it, right? We use AI to generate the product description. This cloth is 20% cotton. Should not be washed in a washing machine. Should not be ironed above so degree and all that. Then, when we had all this in line, and we had already built more than 100 websites, right, e-commerce websites, using this format, we looked and said, okay, why don't we kick ourselves out of a job and build something instead that will take over this manual process of us having to generate these images every time that the user or that the customer now wants to update their website? Why don't we give them something that helps them do it themselves and they don't have to come back to us every time? And that's the reason why we decided to pivot and build Lexia AI.
Lexia AI doesn't just generate content, it localizes it. From generating Instagram reels to Facebook posts, product captions, and even detailed descriptions, the platform acts like a personal assistant for business owners right on their mobile devices.
We want to enable businesses and individuals make money without spending that much money, right? We want to give them a personal assistant on their mobile device, rather, right? We want to help them post on social media right from their mobile device. We want to help them generate Instagram reels, Facebook reels, right, Twitter posts, without them having to spend so much getting a social media manager, a photographer to take images, a content writer to generate product descriptions. We understand what our customers would like to have on their websites. We understand what our target market, or even the target market of our customers, would like to see on their websites and as product descriptions. Because of this, we try as much as possible, following global standards, to build our algorithm and train our algorithm with only systems and contents relevant to our local market, right? Because you would agree with me that the way a product description would look like in Japan, for example, is not the way that they will coin it in Nigeria or in the US, right? So we try as much as possible to train our models using local content to ensure that it is relevant to our market.
Availability of time, cost, and capacity are some of what often holds small businesses back. And this AI-powered platform is offering a smart shortcut tailored for local entrepreneurs, a homegrown solution helping businesses show up, sell better, and scale.
To other stories now. A 12-year-old girl has died and 7 other children have been taken to hospital in an outbreak of severe food poisoning centered around a northern French town. Symptoms began to emerge on June 12 in and around Saint-Cotin, south of Lille, where the children rushed to hospital over the following days. The cause of the outbreak is yet to be identified, as the children aged 1 and 12 are not thought to have mixed in the same groups. The girl died on Monday from a rare condition called hemolytic uremic syndrome linked to acute kidney failure. The most cause of the infection is E. coli bacteria. All 8 children were admitted to hospital with severe digestive symptoms such as bloody diarrhea, and all 5 of them had developed HERS. Health authorities are conducting biological analyses in an attempt to identify the bacterial strain involved in each case. Russia's invasion of Ukraine gets our attention next, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reiterated his demand for face-to-face talks with his Russian counterpart, Mr. Vladimir Putin. In his nightly address in Kyiv, President Zelensky says, quote, he is ready to meet in any format with those who make decisions and who have the appropriate authority, including President Putin. adding that he's also counting on help from U.S. President Donald Trump. He says, quote, "I am counting on the influence of the United States. This is something that can help. We need sanctions, we need diplomacy, we need security." A number of rounds of talks have taken place in Turkey between these sides this year since direct negotiations resumed for the first time since 2022. And Israeli forces have killed 23 Palestinians after opening fire on crowds who gathered near an aid distribution site. According to medics and witnesses, tanks and drones fired at thousands of people near a distribution center in central Gaza run by the U.S. and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, is claiming troops fired warning shots after people gathered nearby. Then an Israeli aircraft struck several suspects who the IDF says continued walking towards troops. The IDF has denied a shooting occurred near its site. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 400 Palestinians have been killed in similar incidents since late May. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Al-Wada Hospital in Seirat has confirmed they received 23 bodies and more than 100 were injured. A security review has been launched across UK military bases after pro-Palestinian activists broke into Ravbrin's Norton and sprayed 2 military planes with red paint. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has condemned the action as disgraceful, saying it was an act of vandalism. Downing Street says the incident had not blocked any planned aircraft movement or stopped any operations. The Ministry of Defense says it is working with the Thames Valley Police, which is leading the investigation. In the meantime, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that poverty is becoming increasingly concentrated in conflict-affected regions with potentially dire global consequences. Speaking at a UN Security Council meeting in New York, Mr. Guterres states that it is no coincidence that 9 of the 10 countries with the lowest human development indicators are currently in a state of conflict. Mr. Guterres cites the growing number of protracted conflicts displacing more than 120 million people, as well as a lack of global cooperation to resolve them.
It is no coincidence that 9 of the 10 countries with the lowest human development indicators are currently in a state of conflict. 40% of the 700 million people living in extreme poverty live in conflict-affected or fragile settings. And the situation is only getting worse. Conflicts are proliferating and lasting longer, displacing more than 120 million people from their homes, an unprecedented number of individuals with disrupted lives and futures. Solutions are in short supply because of rampant geopolitical mistrust and divisions. The global economy is slowing, trade tensions are rising, and the budgets are being slashed while military spending soars. If current trends continue, 2/3 of the world's poor will live in conflict-affected or fragile countries by 2030.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Let's head over to Germany, where immigrants are packing up their bags to move elsewhere. A new study found that 1 in 4 migrants in Germany want to leave that country. That's bad news for a country that is desperate for skilled workers to fill shortages. For more on this, we are joined by Deutsche Welle's Wada Imran, who joins us live now on the program. Wada, great to see you as always. What are the top reasons for people wanting to leave Germany at this time?
Thanks for having me. Yes, there's a ton of reasons why immigrants and especially skilled workers are choosing to turn their backs on Germany. And the leading cause is high taxes and family reunion. Many people, according to the survey by the Federal Employment Agency, so it's official numbers, are leaving looking for better opportunities with higher pay. Now, depending on how much you earn, income tax could be north of 40%, which is a lot. Another big reason, and one that also seems to be pulling companies down, is bureaucracy. Now, add to this mix sharply rising discrimination, high levels of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and it paints a really hard picture. Almost 2/3 of the people surveyed said that they felt discriminated against, at work, in the housing market, in public spaces, or when they were talking to the police. And the rise of the far-right political parties here in Germany have also contributed to this. So it's not a rosy picture at the moment in Germany for skilled workers who know that they will be valued and paid well anywhere in the world.
I understand we're absolutely pressed for time. So allow me to squeeze in just one final question, because migration has been such a divisive issue all over the world. Give us an insight into what authorities in Germany are possibly thinking.
So it's a bit hard to quantify what the pulse of the general population is. But we're talking about a country where more than a quarter of the people have some kind of migration background. 21 million people have come into Germany since 1950. More than 1 in 6 doctors here are foreign citizens. So, they're very well in some ways integrated. But personally, what I think could be the issue is that sometimes citizens here tend to lump together refugees, asylum seekers, and skilled workers, in the same group as foreigners. And so the perception can be a bit negative, but I do think it really does vary depending on where you are in Germany. In Berlin, where I am, the capital, the public is very diverse, multicultural, and even then, that's not without its faults. So I really think the mood shifts depending on where you are. But the reality is that for Germany's economic engine to pick up again, they do need a lot more skilled workers than they have now.
Absolutely. We'll keep our eyes and ears on ground with you and checking with you subsequently. Thank you indeed, as always. DW's Wadar Imran, thank you indeed for the updates. And finally on the program, a Liam named Miguelito has become the most famous carabinero in Chile after it became a part of the team at the Eugenia border post in the country's northern Tarapacá region. The second sergeant of the post, Miguel Segura, explains that the charismatic Liama was adopted just 5 days old after its mother died during childbirth, according to Lieutenant Nicholas Figueroa, head of the post. The young Liama's owner, Daisy Gonzalez, decided to give the animal up for adoption as a gesture of gratitude for the relationship between the carabineros and the community, with much affection and love. Now, over time, Miguelito became just another carabinero at the station, accompanying the team in their daily duties inside the post. Miguelito has captured the hearts of social media users and has become so popular that tourists have been expertly traveled to meet him and witness the affection he receives at the post, where he has a pen and is fed milk and grass by his colleagues. And due to the interest sparked by the Indian animal, his fellow carabineros have begun sharing regular updates on social media about the life and routine of this unique team member. And Liam has become not just a team member, but of course a colleague as well. But that's the world today. Thanks indeed for watching. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I'm Kelly Egiga. I urge you to stick around here on Channels TV. Sports News is next with Baron Uranta. Good evening.